Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. For a relatively short fight today, I'm going against Oh Well Lol, and well, my opener is not something I would recommend that you try in a ranked game or anything like that. It's very much a guess based off of, well, the opponent that I was playing against, the fact that he was bringing South Africa, and just some observations pre-match. So I never played against this guy before. I hope to again, just because I always want to play people again, for better or for worse. And so we have a light opener toward Boris, I guess a couple of infantry and WZs, HQ7, which is basically a Quartel clone, and then some cheap ATGMs and Hwasong Chungs. I really like these transports for their anti-air capability, and fighting South Africa, that's always something you have to be on the lookout for. We also have a decent amount going up to hold Anna, and then I had planned on a weak side in Feder. Basically, the idea was cap Boris, cap Anna, push through Dmitry, but I did also purchase a MiG-29 912B. Now, these guys are premier helicopter hunters. If we take a look, it is a short game, so hope you don't mind me doing this, but 120 points, and for it, you get 900 speed, 30% ECM, and two monstrous types of missiles for anti-helicopter work. So, 60% accuracy with 5 HE off of the R73As, and then 6 HE with 45% accuracy off of the R27Ts. It's a beautiful, beautiful helicopter hunter. Tends to fire about 2 shots per pass. As you can see right now, we've lost one of the R73s and one of the R27s, which means that if you really needed to, you could fire a bunch of the R27s in a bunch of sequential passes. I don't recommend it. I think you generally want to get 1 or 2 kills and get out, but if you had to, you could. And honestly, these guys can even support air superiority fighters in the sort of late game grind, or take down a bomber or two that gets a little bit too cocky. So we do have men already unloaded up here. We have ATGM teams, and ooh, no. ATGM team is coming up a little bit later with Hwasong Chung. Right now we just have our scout infantry and also some other infantry headed forward in a WZ 551, and we'll return to him later. He does some interesting stuff. Meanwhile, MI1 is spotting Ruakot 76, and this is the quintessential mechanized versus motorized engagement. My ZTQ is far slower. We're engaging on my side of the field, not his. My ZTQ has heavier armor, a way higher AP power gun at 17 compared to the 12 on the Ruakot, and even though I'm lacking a little bit in accuracy, that first shot is going to take care of that. So now my opponent is very much panicked, down to 1 strength. I only need 1 more hit. You can see there he does get the shot off, and well, he does get a hit, but 3 points of damage. I could sit there and take that all day. The little bit of accuracy is not going to make that much of a difference. So we have another XH1 Alpha coming in, and well, I don't want my opponent scouting anything at all on my side, so down goes the 912B, and this is just off the observation that's, well, particularly for the first one, I didn't think that he could have gotten anti-air up, and because I didn't see anything shooting as I was evacing and going a little bit over into Feder, I figured maybe I could get away with it again, and in fact, that was the case. So let's just take a look here. My WZ is moving up, but we'll return to that. His opening was very much what you don't really want to do with South Africa. There's a lot of expensive units doing nothing. A Ruavalk over here, of all things, 120 points as a dead buy is very much not ideal, and he went with a 2 command vehicle opening. So expensive units and another Ruavalk there, along with a cactus and a couple of infantry and buffles called in as reinforcements. Very much not what you want to see, and now my WZ was just... I was sitting here, I was looking at the amount of stuff he was pouring into Feder, realizing the fight would probably be over Feder, and I figured, okay, well, let's send a WZ forward, and worst case, I, lose 15 points. Best case, I might get a couple good kills out of it. We do spot the cactus, we do also spot a bunch of ferret vehicles. I could have tried to be cheeky and take these guys out with ZTQs, but I was kind of afraid of ATGM infantry or buffaloes in the buffles, and I figured he might be able to take out the ZTQ. Particularly also, there's just the 90-point ATGM plane, which flies real slow, but I didn't have good anti-air up here. I would have had to rely on my Hilo Hunter, which is not the best thing. But I do actually cap Dmitry for my opponent, so his CV was not yet unloaded, and I killed the vehicle, and the Commandant popped out into the town. But we're headed over toward Elena. We have bigger, better things in mind, and, well... Here come the ferrets charging up the hill, a little bit late to be doing this sort of thing. You really just want to have them not stop if you don't encounter big resistance, and just go right toward center. And you can see I am prepared for this now. I do have Bangtang Fago, 10-point ATGM teams, and Tanka Shashao up here. The ATGM teams are overkill, but they were really just something I could get to also bring up Hwasong Chungs, which could have fended out off those recon helos or something like that. WZ, meanwhile, ooh, Actually, I think we just took down a Ruavalk, so Hilo Hunter, yep, there he goes, spiraling, crashing down into the earth, that 8 strength, 120 point helicopter. Same cost as my plane. So my plane has now gotten, I think, 180 points in helicopter kills, which, I mean, yeah, I'll take it. And then, in particular, our WZ's now back far enough that we're actually hitting Buffles. Not able to get any kills because the autocannon on this thing is no Bushmaster 2. But, yeah, it's interesting. I actually turn off the gun to keep him from firing at the fob because I have switched to firing on logistics by default. And we also do spot a Ruavalk here in Fetter, so he is on the ground, but it was just a temporary spot and I figured that thing would be moving, so there's no immediate reaction to it. WZ is looking for a command vehicle in Elena. We'll see if we're going to find one, and we are going to cap Anna as well. As Dmitry, his commandants are still alive. He probably wasn't quite sure what hit him, so he's trying to move them over to keep them alive. And we do finally see a couple men moving into Boris, but I was quite happy with this. I figured, well, I can cap Anna, I can cap Boris if I need to, and just contest it. I don't think a South Africa player is going to uproot me from this without some telltale sign of warning, particularly when things have been going our way. So, meanwhile, this was really kind of sad. That was a cactus that went up here, and, yeah, big... Ooh, no, just a buffle. The cactus should be right behind him, so let's see. Yep, here he is. He was looking for my MI1, and we're just... There's a weird angle here. You can't really see it from that perspective, so let's take a look. That is on a downslope and over the woods, and that is going to be a very tough thing indeed. But, let's see... Yeah, my WZ is going to find his command vehicle relatively shortly. The fact that there was no cheap helicopter looking in, trying to find something that was in his home zone after things were shot at, was sort of not the best. And I guess I hope that he sees this game in the recording, because I'm not sure that my side of the field matched what he thought it might be. And that's always a good thing, is to make sure you know how you lost, that way you can get better and not lose the same way a second time. So I'm now bringing up some cheap BTR 50 PKs. These guys are, of course, the 5-point transports just carrying Bo Chung Su, 10-point infantry, and I wasn't sure what was in here, but I figured if it was a fragile ATGM team, then the Bo Chung Su can get the work done, and if it was the more expensive Buffaloes, then, well, we'd get them at relatively good cost, just between the BTRs and the cheap Bo Chung Su going in at that. So we have the enemy CV, a Rattle BV here. It's not shooting at me, which is interesting. I think it's the HE power on the gun can't handle the armor on this guy. So we do turn our own gun on, and there's the kill, and shortly we will be also capturing his fob, which we have identified, and I know where it is, where to look for it. In the meantime, however, the Ruavalk is still hovering in this one spot, and that is a fatal mistake at this point. It's been there for so long that I'm going to have to do something about it, and here comes a J7H. If your Ruavalk gets killed by a J7H, you're probably not having it moving around enough to really get good use, because here it comes the bomber, and Fetter is capped, but it really, I mean, it's not going to matter much at this point. There's been a lot of CV buys, and a very paper-thin front line for my opponent, which is very much not what you want, and down goes the Ruavalk to that huge 1,000-kilogram bomb explosion. So, good for me, bad for him. That is the sort of way that you want your games to go. Anyway, which is a little bit selfish, but still. And it was Buffaloes, so that is a tough decision. But fob is captured. We have Elena. It's going to be a little bit annoying and or difficult to get that back. And if we take a look, there are 1, 2, 3 command vehicles out, but look at the dearth of front line here. Rattle 20s still haven't been unloaded. Buffaloes and Parapathfinders are running into the face of my ZTQs and Hwasong Chong, as well as just having the Bontang Fagos take out their IFVs. So that was pretty rough, and it was a surrender there from my opponent as another bomber was going in overhead. Kills and losses, 690 to 65 is kind of brutal. I've been on the receiving end of similar before, and I guess just, I don't know, I mean, this fellow had 300 games under his belt, but most of them were in destruction, so I think Conquest sort of threw him through a loop, but I have no doubt that he'll be able to pull out of it and have some good games going forward. So, units that did well, the Hilo Hunter, the MiG-29-912B, got Ruavalk, a couple of XH-1 Alphas, more than paid for himself there. Scout Tank is just, I think it's one of those that's a pretty decent counter to South Africa, particularly in the early game, because you can get vision on and then you just have better armor and a more impactful gun. So even if you traded in against a couple of units here, which, I mean, ours was still alive, but even if you should lose it, you can still reasonably get a couple of good shots off and a couple of good initial kills just to slow everything down. WZ-551 killing Rattleby V is of course kind of devastating, and the J7H with the Rulevalk kill was the icing on the cake. So that's what we've got for you guys today. If you like this sort of thing and have been hanging around the channel for a bit, don't hesitate to hit like, share, and or subscribe, and of course I do leave both Discord and Patreon in the descriptions of my videos. So that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you all for hanging around. We'll see you again real soon.